Tennessee's Old Hickory Lake figures to be a stiff challenge for the talented pros on the Walmart FLW Tour. Early spring conditions are tough. Cold water, nasty weather. But these pros always catch fish. See how next on FLW Outdoors.
Yes, sir, that's what we're looking for, my friend. Ball game, baby. Yeah.
He could have one more, and he does. We have a champion.
Yeah. Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Hallelujah!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FLW Outdoors. I'm Carlton Wing, along with Charlie Evans, and today we're joining you from Gallatin, Tennessee. It's the third stop on the Walmart FLW Tour, and Charlie, it's amazing to think that at the conclusion of this tournament, we'll be halfway through our regular season.
Yeah, we'll have 3 tournaments down, 3 more to go, and it's starting to get really tight for Land O'Lakes Angler of the Year. We've seen some guys emerge out of the pack to take a shot at being the top angler in the country. We're also seeing some guys down at the bottom, below 49th place, get extremely nervous. Only the top 48 will qualify for the year-end championship at Birmingham, Alabama.
And that year-end championship is very lucrative. $1.5 million on the line. $500,000 goes to the winner, so there is plenty for our anglers to be thinking about at this point in the season. All right, let's talk about what's happening today. We have 10 finalists on the water right now. At each of our regular season events, 200 pros take the water, all hoping to make the cut. Just the top 10 do so, and the final 2 days of each tournament, those finalists are fishing for the big money. At launch this morning, Charlie, the anglers had a little bit of nerves. They also had a lot of cold to deal with, but it wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been.
Nerves, obviously, because yesterday, with the cold weather, the cold water, catches were down from what they were on day 1 and day 2. Hopefully today, with better weather, we'll see some huge stringers brought in today like we did on the first 2 days.
But it's kind of been that way, you know. It's kind of been good one day and bad the next, and so, you know, I'm looking forward to going chasing them again today.
As long as we can put our bites in the boat, I think we'll be all right. Just go out there and fish hard and see what happens today. I think they're going to bite today. I'm a little bit excited, if you can't tell. But 6-pound lead, that's pretty good. So I'm starting the day off with a kicker, so to speak. So we're out of here.
Charlie, this is where all of the FLW pros want to be. They want to be fishing on the final day for the big money.
Absolutely. The pressure, the intense pressure in the top 10 is absolutely unbelievable, especially on day 2 for those that are chasing our leader. They've got some ground to make up, and I'll tell you what, the nerves are tight at this time.
Well, let's take a look at the tension of day 1 and 2, the qualifying round here at Old Hickory.
Old Hickory. Day 1.
Hi.
The 2 most asked questions today: is it cold enough for you, and how do you plan to fish? Only one of those answers depends on who you ask.
We're going to just fish slow and try and get a couple bites. 1 or 2 keeper bites are going to go a long ways in this tournament.
I'm going to crank and crank and crank and crank, and hopefully I run into 5 bass.
The fish are going to be moving a little bit slower, but they're still there.
You know, these fish have seen everything, so I'm trying to catch fish that haven't seen some of the lures I'm going to throw at them.
Lee Bailey has the same idea as Cochran. He's throwing a rattle trap but fishing it slow like a jig. So far without success. Lee Skipper is throwing a spinnerbait he painted red and still looking. Rookie Ron Figueroa is having better luck, fishing a jig and landing one that goes almost 5 pounds. It would be Figueroa's only fish, and there are many bags like that. Lots of pros caught him, but only 28 have hard-earned limits.
I flipped every tree, I cranked every rock I could find, and managed to catch 6 keepers today.
Jerry Williams is 1 short of a limit, but still manages to end the day in 12th place.
I'm fishing underwater weeds. And yeah, you actually see the dark spots. These fish were real shallow. They were like foot and a half deep.
Michigan's Marcel Veenstra has the day's biggest sack, 23.9 on a jig and crankbait, including the Snickers Big Bass that goes 7 even.
Any idea you'd have that good a day?
No, not at all. I was hoping for 13 to 15 pounds. I figured if I were consistent, I get my 5 bites each day, it was a good chance I'd make the cut.
Right behind Veenstra, Castrol Pro Darrell Robertson, rookie Glen Brown, and Rick Clunn.
Old Hickory. Day 2.
As the anglers take off behind me, they're proving just how relative cold can be. Forecasters had been calling for temperatures in the 20s with possibly some snow today. So when they woke up this morning and found temperatures only in the 30s and partly cloudy skies, put them in a better mood.
But I like cold weather. I like cold water fishing. They like crankbaits and jigs.
It could be a little bit warmer. I won't argue with that.
You know, you got to take your best shot and keep a cool head and stick with it.
Keeping a cool head might not be too hard today.
Yeah, it's pretty cool out here right now.
But an angler with fish is a lot warmer than an angler without. And one of the hottest anglers on tour is Pennsylvania's Dave Lefevre, protecting a top 10 showing on the first day.
I'm a little nervous about today. It's not as easy as what I thought it would be. And, you know, the fish are getting nickeled and dimed to death. There's one guy's catching one or two in each cove, and it makes it a little tough.
Nickels and dimes appropriately describe the fishing on day 2. A lot of anglers caught small fish. But Tennessee's Russ Moran had one of the rare 5-fish limits on day 2, though not on fish like this one. He went from 0 on day 1 to 16 pounds on day 2, finishing in 49th place. Only 19 pros turned in 5-fish limits, the toughest day on the tour this year. Greg Hackney didn't think the fishing was tough at all. The Yamaha Pro lit up the field with an eye-popping 26.5 pounds. A career day for an angler who stood in 122nd place after day 1 and made the cut in 6th place.
It really is. I mean, you know, this is one of those things that happens every 100 years, you know. I mean, I have these days sometimes practicing or just fun fishing, you know, but to have one in a tournament like this, a big tournament like this, you know, it's just really wonderful.
Another angler in the top 10, Kellogg's Pro Dave Lefevre, the same who told us he was nervous at the beginning of the day.
It's pretty neat because I have confidence. I know I can almost call my shots where I'm going to get bit. It's like I've been fishing here all my life, and this is only my 2nd time. So I'm just so excited to get to the top 10 because I knew going into this, if I could get to the top 10, I had a serious shot to win. So I'm fired up.
Coming out of that qualifying round, nobody was better than Glen Brown. He's a rookie on the FLW Tour, but he's making some headlines this year.
I'll tell you what, Glen Brown did a fantastic job. He started in the BFLs, excelled there, qualified to move up to the Everstarts, dominated the Everstart Eastern Division, and qualified for the Walmart FLW Tour. Now here in his first season, if he finishes at least 7th place, will be our Land O'Lakes Angler of the Year leader.
And that's an amazing story for the rookie from Florida. So we decided to get a little bit closer, find out what's going on in that rookie mind of his. We put BF Goodrich Pro Scott Martin on him yesterday in the first day of the final round on the water. Let's hear what they had to say.
Well, right now we're about 45 minutes upriver from the takeoff. We're in a Clearwater Creek with tournament leader Glen Brown. Glen, tell me a little bit about what you're doing in here.
I've been flipping these. It's kind of it's a real deep creek. The boat sits in anywhere from about 15 to 20 feet of water. And I've been catching the majority of my fish off the corners. It's got real high banks in some of these corners, and it drops off really steep.
Now, when you found this spot in practice, was there a lot of other tournament anglers in the area?
No, I came up here Tuesday about 11 o'clock, last day of practice. I really didn't have a good practice. I caught a few fish. I was going to be just running around and fishing pockets, you know, shallow pockets, like a lot of the other guys in the tournament were doing. That's what I had planned on doing up until I came in here. And I pulled in here and I had 5 bites in like an hour, hour and a half.
Well, that's important, establishing a pattern like you have. I mean, to find the fish holding on the corners. I mean, there's so much water in here to fish, inside bends, outside bends. It looks like you're concentrating on the outside bends and fishing the deep side of this creek, and you figure out the corners. And that's the difference between you and the finals and a lot of other guys going home right now.
I hope I can just keep catching them. I got 2, and we need 3 more today. And I know there's some real good quality fish in here.
This tournament's in March, mid-March. The spawn's right around the corner. And the key to Glen's success in this tournament is clear water. All week we had lots of rain. The river was at flood stage. A lot of little creeks and bays got tremendously muddy, and it made it a tough bite. Glen here has found clear water, and he's concentrating on the steep banks, and that's a great pattern this time of year with the water temperatures 47 to 50 degrees. These fish are going to be relating to the wood along this flooded shoreline, and they're going to be feeding on crayfish. His plan of attack is pitching a tube or a jig into the shady sides of these trees, drawing a reaction strike on these fish.
That was Glen Brown yesterday. Today, he's back in the same spot, Goose Creek, about a 40-minute run up the Cumberland River from launch. And water clarity has been the key for Brown in here. Now, he just missed a fish minutes ago, and he does not need to do that in this event. He's got more than 6 pounds to overcome to catch Dave Lefevre. We'll hear from Glen Brown, who's been the top rookie on tour by far this year, a bit later in the show. Carlton and Charlie, back to you.
In the next hour on FLW Outdoors, we're going to take you out on the water with the finalists as they fish.
Put you right in the boat with them. Matter of fact, we'll try to put you right in the mine with them to see what they're doing while they're competing for $100,000.
And then a little bit later on the show, they will take the stage behind us. We're getting ready for them in the shootout style weigh-in, which will crown a winner $100,000 on the line. And coming up on FLW Outdoors, our own Larry Nixon interviews our leader, Kellogg's pro Dave Lefevre.
It's not going to last very long, but even when it breaks, I can still reel a fish in on it. It's not going to fall completely apart. It just won't work properly. But
welcome back to FLW Outdoors. We're joining you from Gallatin, Tennessee. This is the third stop on the FLW Tour. Our 10 finalists are on the water right now, and let's take a closer look at this very talented field of anglers. We'll start off with Gonzales, Louisiana's Greg Hackney. Now, Greg has ridden the roller coaster. Day 1 in 122nd place. Day 2 in 6th place. And then day 3, he fell to the bottom of the heap, but he has proven that he can do it. Also in 9th place from Wilkesboro, North Carolina, Tracy Adams. In 8th place is Morizo Shimizu from Osaka, Japan. Also in 7th place from Ava, Missouri, Rick Clunn. In 6th place from Phoenix, Arizona is John Murray. In the top 5, Marcel Veenstra is out of Brighton, Michigan. Also in 4th place, Dion Hibden out of Stover, Missouri. In 3rd, Mickey Bruce from Buford, Georgia. Glen Brown is in just his rookie season. He's already in a top 10 and is in position to take the lead in the Land O'Lakes Angler of the Year race. And our leader heading into this final day of the final round is Kellogg's pro Dave Lefevre, and he is way out in front with a stringer of 15 pounds and 2 ounces. That's a good head start for day 4. Charlie, we talked about how much Dion Hibden loves this lake. He came back in 2002 to make the top 10. He's back in the top 10 once again. He is way upriver and fishing a jig. Dion joins us right now on the line. Dion, how's it going so far today?
I've got one. I'm in probably my favorite spot on the whole lake. This is actually the spot where I made it the last time we were here to the top 10. And I didn't fish it very hard in the tournament, and I came up here. I thought, well, if there's some big ones left, I'll be able to get them to bite out of here. And I've got one real good one so far, so maybe I can pluck another one or two out of here.
And fish this time of year, Dion, start moving toward their spawning grounds.
Oh yeah, they're kind of like us. They're cold. They're seeking that sunlight, so they come up shallow when it gets sunny like this.
Dion, you're a little over 10 pounds off the pace right now. Do you feel like you're in a spot or on a pattern that can produce that?
Yeah, I mean, the ones that I've caught 2 or 3 big ones every day I fished, except yesterday. So yeah, I've got the capabilities, whacking one of them 20-pound stringers. To say that'll do it, it's, then Dave has to kind of falter a little bit. But as you've seen through the weigh-ins this week, that's happened a lot to a lot of guys. One day you catch them, one day you don't.
All right, that's Stover, Missouri's Dion Hibden. He is currently in 4th place, just over 10 pounds off the lead. And Charlie, he talked about that feast or famine, and we have certainly seen great evidence of that this week.
Absolutely, particularly Greg Hackney, case in point, 3 pounds on day 1, the huge 26-pound stringer on day 2. So that certainly can happen. Could happen to Dave Lefevre, then it could happen the other way to Dion. Really, this tournament's wide open for everybody.
And one of the anglers who has proven that big stringers are always possible on Old Hickory is the rookie from Ocala, Florida, Glen Brown. Taylor Carr is with our rookie right now.
We've run about 40 miles up the Cumberland River. This is Goose Creek, and in the Snickers boat, rookie Glen Brown. A little bit more than 6 pounds off the lead, and Glen, you found yourself a good place away from all the other anglers.
Yeah, I really did. I was real fortunate. I found this actually in the last couple hours of my practice. And I was just riding around my last day of practice, just trying to think of something a little bit different. And I ended up riding up here, and right when I rode into the mouth, I mean, it went from kind of a real dark brown water to this clear blue water. I said, wow, look at this. But it's just a pretty creek, you know. It was really, the water really got muddy when we had all that rain, and this really did make a big difference, I think, in how I caught my fish.
Rookie Glen Brown right now in second place, but regardless, Carlton, he's had a great start to 2004.
Charlie, during the practice period, a lot of the anglers were worried about even catching a fish. They were worried about not zeroing. And then all of a sudden on day one, Michigan's Marcel Veenstra blows away the field, 23-9, and he also blew away a lot of excuses that some of these other anglers had. Marcel joins us now on the line. Marcel, you're fishing upriver. Are things going well for you so far today?
Well, so far today I got 2 fish. I got a 4-pounder and one probably about 2.5 pounds. So I have about 6.5 pounds. I'm hoping as the water warms up, maybe I could catch a few more good ones today. So we'll see what happens.
Marcel, talk a little bit about your area and what it is that makes that area so special that's held those fish for you this week.
Well, what I think is happening is we're near some deeper water, and there's a couple of really good spawning bays in this area. And I think these fish are waiting to move up shallow to these spawning bays. Right now, I just believe a lot of them are coming up feeding because the water temperature's been between 49 and 51 degrees for me, maybe 52 in the late afternoons. So I think the key right now is that we're around deeper water and it's very close to the shallow water. And I'm just throwing a half-ounce rattle trap right now, and I'm just waiting for these fish, you know, trying to hit one here and one there. I'm not getting a lot of strikes.
Marcel, it sounds like you're going about it in a very business-like manner. Don't seem to be nervous at all for your first top 10 appearance.
There's nothing to be nervous about. It's a 10-boat club tournament to me today. I'm just going out here. If I give it 100%, I don't have to worry about what the other guys do. I just got to worry about what I put in the bag. If you don't bring in the fish, you can't win the tournament. So I got to do my end right here.
All right, that's Marcel Veenstra. Thanks for talking with us. Best of luck to you. We'll see you out on the weigh-in stage.
Okay, guys. Hopefully I can bring in a big limit for you guys.
All righty. Marcel had 2 keepers yesterday in the first day of the final round. He's got 2 so far today. He's got a few hours to see if he can add to that and try to pull in those big fish and move him up and put a little pressure on Dave Lefevre like everybody's trying to do.
Absolutely. Dave's got that lead. But again, those 20-pound stringers can happen. And also guys that had 20-pound stringers cannot catch them the next day too.
All right, well, coming up on FLW Outdoors, our own Larry Nixon will interview the man with all the pressure, and he's also got that huge lead, Kellogg's pro Dave Lefevre. It's all coming up next on FLW Outdoors. One of the top names in professional fishing is Ava, Missouri's Rick Clunn. He is always hunting that top 10, and he has found it more often than any FLW pro ever. This is his 19th FLW top 10, and Rick Clunn joins us on the water right now. Rick, talk a little bit about your pattern today and what has worked so well for you this week.
Well, the first day of practice, I got on the end of the bluffs in these creeks, and I caught probably a 20-plus pound bag. I only had that 1 day of practice, so I had to kind of stick with that. And the first day of the tournament, I had almost 19 pounds off that pattern, basically working crankbaits along those bluffs.
Rick, this time of year, it seems like every day the fish are moving and changing.
Yeah, that's just the nature of this time of year. You can't be any place this time of year over 4 to 6 days. You're not going to get 1 to 3 weather changes, and those all affect the fish, especially this one that had a lot of rain, which you had a lot of high water. It probably helped me because it disrupted a lot of the guys' patterns. Had been here for several days, and I only had 1 day of practice, and I kind of go in here and just started the day under the conditions the lake was, and that was muddy and dropping. And so it probably helped me that we had some disruption.
All right, thanks a lot, Rick Clunn, for joining us. Best of luck to you on the water today, and we'll see you in just a little bit on the weigh-in stage.
Thank you.
All right, just like a master thespian, he is putting on a great performance today. Rick Clunn in yet another top 10.
I'll tell you what, he is amazing. So the way he can adapt, the way he can think to different conditions, different lakes, different varieties, different techniques, he is indeed a master.
All righty, let's go from one legend to another. Our own Larry Nixon is with the legend of this tournament, Kellogg's pro, Dave Lefevre.
Right now I'm with our tournament leader, Dave Lefevre, and we're way up the river. And hey, Dave, if you would talk to me just a little bit on how you've had such good success this week.
Well, I've only been here once before. Spent about 4 days here in November. Did fairly well in the Ever Start Championship. I finished 3rd. I figure pretty much bass are going to be doing about the same thing in the fall as they are in the spring, so basically came down thinking, you know, I'm going to check some of the stuff I was fishing in that tournament and, you know, go from there just to see if everything was still kind of the same. And
now, does a lot of fish come from this area right here in this event?
Yeah, it turns out there have been. I mean, Marcel Veenstra was leading after day one. He caught 3 of his big ones in here.
Yesterday, did you catch any of your keepers right here through this grass bed?
The first 2 days I caught 3 each day that weighed about 10, 11 pounds. And yesterday I only caught 1. But yesterday was a tough day. I don't know what happened yesterday. They weren't, for some reason, they weren't biting.
Now, if they don't bite your crankbait, you've got a jig pattern to fall back on. Is that your secondary plan?
Yeah, I every day after I leave here, I start flipping, and I have all day to catch 2 more. You know, I've been catching 3 and leaving. I really think I could catch 5 in here if I stayed.
Well, there you have it. He's fishing mainly grass, throwing a crankbait, fishing it real erratic, popping it through that grass, and a lot of them are hitting it when he's stopping it. Unfortunately, some of them he misses, but he's also got a backup pattern. He's using a jig and pitching some rocky banks and probably some wood laydowns.
Charlie, what an amazing tournament Greg Hackney has had. In 122nd place, could have packed it in or just fished for a check. Instead, he lit it up on day 2 with an amazing catch of 26.5 pounds. Anglers didn't know that it was possible on Old Hickory, but he proved it.
The largest stringer of the tournament so far, and he's going to need another stringer like that today if he's going to overtake Dave Lefevre.
That's right. Greg Hackney is currently in 10th place. He has proven he can catch the big stringer. He is on the water right now. And Greg, you already got 1 in the boat. Do you think 4 more big ones are coming?
I really hope so. I'm just kind of changing around today. Yesterday I went back to that same area where I caught that big stringer, and I went in there off and on all day, and they never pulled up, or I actually feel like I probably caught too many, and that really made the difference that second day. I went back to a little lighter weight on my jig and changed the color just a little bit because the water had cleared up some from practice.
You said that you could tell by the way they're biting you didn't have the right thing. Explain that to us, please.
They're hitting real hard, but they're not hitting in like a feeding mode. In a feeding mode, you know, you'll hook them in the mouth, and I'm not hooking these fish in the mouth. They're hooking up outside the head, and that's the reason I couldn't catch them. They were more hitting out of aggression, you know, not because they're hungry, but just because they don't want that bait in their space.
Greg, when you made that change in color on your jig from day 1 to day 2, you said the water cleared up. Did you change from maybe a black blue to more of a natural color?
Yeah, actually, that's what I've done. I had them in practice on just a standard black and blue jig because I was fishing the dirtier water, and I went to more of a brim pattern.
All righty. Well, Greg Hackney, good luck to you. Thanks for talking with us, and we'll see you on the weigh-in stage and see if you can bring it on home in the final round.
We're going to swing at them till the end.
All righty. That's Greg Hackney from Gonzales, Louisiana. A lot of experience in both Louisiana and Arkansas fishing, and see if he can bring in another 34-pound stringer.
I'm telling you, he can catch big stringers, and again, anything can happen in this event.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, it is almost showtime on the big stage. Our anglers in just a few hours will be wrapping up their final round. When we come back on FLW Outdoors, we'll be on the stage with our 10 finalists. $100,000 up for grabs for one of our 10. We'll see what happens when the exciting shootout-style weigh-in starts next on FLW Outdoors.
Biggin, biggin. All right. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Finally. I've done that so much.
And finally gonna catch another one of them.
Woo! Beginning to wonder if I can still do that.
That last one was what was supposed to happen, where it was supposed to happen. I enjoyed it. You know, I had a big time today. I mean, anytime, whether it's the first day, the last day, whenever, I enjoy it. I'm fixing to take tomorrow off and then do it again starting Monday.
I don't think I would do anything differently, but I am curious to know if I would have just, you know, thrown the jig at some of the wood a little bit more often, if that would have triggered a few more bigger bites maybe. I'm not sure.
Well, I think we just needed a couple more hours, really. I think the fish are just starting to move back up. The wind's switching around to the southeast. Getting a little humidity in the air. You know, and They're starting to bite. I mean, I saw that. You know, I had 4 decent bites, you know, but I needed all 4 of them to even do well.